Well, guys, they finally did it. They nerfed Radahn into the ground once again. This is where you claim your I beat Radahn first before the nerf ticket right here. So today, Elden Ring released a brand new patch 1.14, and today we're going to cover all of the changes that you need to know, all of the major adjustments that came with the game, nerfs, buffs, etc. And we're going to talk about how they even changed Radahn himself. So sit back, relax, we're going to break down all of the major changes in the brand new Elden Ring update. So starting with Radahn himself, now this boss fight will no longer be guaranteed to open with his gravity slam attack. This is essentially 99% of the time what he would open the fight with, meaning it's a gap closer. You don't have time to summon or do really anything or cast spells. Radahn won't do that anymore. He'll start the fight by doing a variety of things. He might just even stand there. So he'll be a lot less aggressive from the beginning of the fight. Also, almost every single one of his attacks have been adjusted to some degree, whether that be damage, stamina damage, etc. They have reduced the range and a lot of the visual noise in the fight, specifically in phase 2 with all of the holy hitboxes going around. It's a lot more manageable to not only see what you're doing, but deal with these extra holy, damage spikes as well. But the other thing that they've really changed, and this is the big one, is they have nerfed Radahn's cross slash. This was a move that I kind of felt like in a way was breaking the rules of boss design. The startup of this move, you could pretty much consistently dodge the first hit, but you were almost always getting hit by the second hit no matter what. There was almost nothing you can do to avoid this move, and I'll show you a bit of a difference here, what it used to be versus what it is now. The cross slash is now totally reactable, and it's actually pretty easy to dodge. So I would say this move is no longer as annoying as it used to be, or it's not the guaranteed damage that it once was. His moveset in general feels weaker across the board, and phase 2 now no longer feels nearly as oppressive with all of the holy hitboxes flying around. So it's significantly more manageable from just a literal damage perspective, but also just easier to look at. That was one of the other really big complaints of this fight. Phase 2 is now no longer like this incredibly scary thing. And I don't even know at this point if I would say Radahn is the hardest boss in Souls anymore after this nerf. Playing the new updated Radahn, it's certainly still a hard boss fight, but it's nowhere near the fight it was in the beginning. Radahn is literally the 2-time back-to-back champion for getting nerfed twice. That's crazy. All right, moving on to other PvE specific adjustments. Basically every single weapon class, for the most part with a couple exceptions, had their heavy R2 uncharged attack be better and just come out faster. Every single one essentially. And not to mention on top of that, colossal swords, hand-to-hand weapon arts, and even backhand blades and small shields have all had some buffs. Hand-to-hand weapons just have had their base damage increased, as well as a shortened recovery time between their attacks. Colossal swords have also been buffed, and this is a big one because not only do you move farther when attacking, but most of your attacks themselves are just going to come out faster. Your normal attack, the first one, is a lot quicker on startup, and your uncharged R2 is also quicker on startup. So they just feel a lot more nimble and responsive to use. I really enjoy that. Now, the backhand blade weapon type did get a slight nerf. They've decreased the attack speed of just regular attacks from a crouching position. I guess it was a little bit too fast, specifically from the crouch, which is again sort of like a niche thing to do, but that's been a bit adjusted. Also, most shields will now increase their damage negation. This is also very good against Radahn and basically most other bosses. Not only will he do less stamina damage to your shield, but also these shields are just going to be better at absorbing that damage. Now, a small change to the Swift Spear, you now have a little bit more of a delay when trying to cancel actions out of the Swift Spear when attacking. So if you're trying to, throw out an attack and then quickly do something else out of Swift Spear, it's a little bit slower now. So not a crazy change. They've also extended the Smith Script Dagger throwing attack range, which I don't think that was necessarily the biggest problem with the Smith Script Dagger. I just feel like it didn't do enough damage. I would have liked to see maybe, a little more base damage added to this thing, but regardless, increased range of the Smith Script Dagger is cool, and I think that will certainly help in a couple of situations. Now, we do have an update and a buff to Rylana's cameo. So this was a talisman, got added in the DLC, and essentially, if you have any kind of skill or Ash of War that requires you to hold it and charge, and you can sort of unleash it whenever you want, this actually got buffed because you needed to hold Rylana's cameo for about 2 seconds in order to proc the attack buff, and that was a little long for certain weapons, and especially in a lot of the high-paced boss fights, just wasn't very realistic or practical. They've cut that time down by about half. It procs very easily now, and essentially you don't even need to go out of your way to hold it. You can essentially tap your button or hold it just for a slight second longer than you normally would, and this will give you increased damage from the talisman. Not not only that, they've actually made it stronger too. So not only does it proc faster, but it's just going to deal more damage as well. This is a very solid option now. All right, moving on to weapon arts, a handful of these got buffed. First and foremost, the Sword of Light and Dark. I was never really a giant fan of these, and they've both been buffed. Most specifically in their Light and Darkness Ash of War, respectively. Their casting times and their attack speed has just been ever so slightly increased. Not a crazy change, but I think it's enough to help for sure. It's certainly appreciated for these weapons. Next, with the Obsidian Lamina that has Dynastic Sickle play, they've basically buffed every aspect of it. It reduces the stamina consumption that you have from it. You have increased poise on follow-up heavy attacks. You get increased movement distance of the first follow-up heavy as well. So overall for PvE, a very welcome change, and this is significantly more viable than it was before. Next, we have an update to Shield Strike. This is basically canceling other actions to perform. This will take longer. You could do a lot of attacks into a Shield Strike, and there was essentially no delay. You could cancel attacks into this, and that was a little bit broken, so they've kind of balanced that out to some degree. All right, so next is a really exciting change, because finally, Rellana's Twin Blades caught a buff. I mean, they knew that Sword of Night and Flame was just basically superior in every single way, and they've tried to catch this up a little bit. So not only has the scaling on this weapon gotten a lot better, but also they've increased the damage and a lot of the attributes of Moon and Fire stance. They've increased the light wave range, poise damage, and attack speed of the stance's normal attack. So basically, like the Carrion magic slices are going to be a lot quicker. They've also increased the poise damage of the fire attack, which is, the charged R2 heavy as well. And they've even adjusted the animation recovery time when the stance heavy attack hits another player, which is, most certainly useful for PvP, not really a PvE change there. Devonia's Vortex also got buffed in a pretty significant way too. They've increased the base attack power, they've extended the attack range, they've increased the poise value and generation speed, and they've also adjusted the animation recovery when hitting another player. But basically, Devonia's Vortex is significantly more powerful than it was, so this is a really good one too. Now, moving on to spells really quick, not only did the Rellana Twin Blades get buffed, but so did the Twin Moons, and they did exactly what my problem with it was before. Not only did they increase the attack range for the first and second, moon hits, but they've also reduced the knockback of the second attack, which is important because in order to get that third hit, sometimes your enemy, if got hit by the first two moons, would be out of the range of the third one. So they've basically kept him in range to where now all three hits are going to land a lot more consistently. There's also been a buff to many of the incantations. First and foremost, we have Aspect of the Crucible Thorns. They've basically increased the attack power, stamina power, and close range hitbox now follows the movement of the player, so your startup is going to be significantly more accurate than it was before. They've also buffed aspects of the Crucible Bloom. They've increased the attack speed and the hitbox, and they've also shortened the recovery time between using this and a follow-up action, so maybe a defensive option or another attack, something like that. Divine Bird Feathers has gotten a buff. They decreased the minimum delay between consecutive hits and increased range, although again, it's still not very good in my opinion, and it just absolutely eats up FP, and I just don't think this one is worth it still, but I guess it's a little better than it used to be, so that's cool. Furious Blade of Ansbach has also been significantly reworked to some degree. You can now cancel this into rolls very quickly. Like, this was a hard one to roll out of, and it, had significant delay. They've made the poise damage higher and increased the enemy knockback distance, so this is still a very solid pick. Next, we have Midra's Flame of Frenzy, and essentially all of my problems with it before have also been addressed. They've increased the attack speed, they've increased the frenzy status buildup against enemies, and reduced the buildup against yourself. So you can just hold it for longer before proccing Madness on yourself, and it's easier to proc on enemies, which is pretty cool. And then Bale's Flame Lightning has had its attack power increased. This is a big one. For some reason, they didn't buff the other Bale incantations. Some of them are still literally broken, and this is the one that they chose to fix for some reason. It's really good still, I'm not gonna lie. It's absolutely an excellent pick. There are also a handful of PvP exclusive adjustments, and these do not affect the PvE in any particular way, but I'll just go and throw these up on screen so you guys can see what changed. And then there was a massive amount of bug fixes as well. I'll go ahead and put these up on screen as well. There's quite a few of them, and a lot of them are just, glitches that have been in the game for quite a while, or Ashes of War that weren't working correctly, and so on. That's pretty much it as far as major adjustments go for the brand new Elden Ring patch. I wanted to tell you everything you need to know and showcase off the new Radahn nerfs. So if you guys enjoyed this, please leave a like on the video, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.